Inspiration, sadness, joy, despair, hope, agony. You really knew what you were doing, huh, Kishimoto? Before we hop into this chat about Naruto, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? Taco the Pencil here, and here we are to chat about Naruto, just in general. Like, I literally, whatever I feel like talking about, I'm literally just gonna hit. Naruto, big inspiration for me. I don't talk about it as much on the channel yet, because Naruto's talked about a lot on the YouTubes. I don't know. It's everywhere I look around, it's Naruto content. And I love that, and I am going to start putting my own foot in the door. However, I've refrained myself from talking about Naruto because I feel like it deserves a lot from me, because Naruto as a series has inspired me and a whole bunch of other creators a lot. And I mean a lot. Like, it's influenced my art style. It's influenced how I write characters. It influences how I create certain worlds whenever I am writing stories. It influences how I judge certain other series, because if it doesn't hold up to this standard, then I'm thinking it's trash, because Naruto did so much. Naruto is like, it's weird to say that it's almost like a second generation Dragon Ball, but in terms of the big three, I know a lot of people love One Piece, I know a lot of people love Bleach, but in terms of the most influential, the one that has the most like staying power, the one that people will constantly go back to, at least for me, as a person who hasn't read One Piece or Bleach, but has read through Naruto at least 4 times at this point in my life, I can say for a fact so that Naruto has just this presence to it. And it's because it's a good story. It is a all-around good story, and that's really it. Like, the thing that I have with Naruto is that it has managed to do so much with the world it built, and almost everything, keyword is almost, felt so organic in its growth. Typically, whenever I'm talking about a narrative, I always talk about power creep and how certain functions in a narrative work with each other to establish why this power creep is occurring and how it feeds into the next thing. So when I look at Naruto, the thing is, the power creep that happened throughout Naruto is something that I expected to happen, as it was a story that had continuous parts, so people had to grow stronger. But the fundamental thing that I enjoy is that all the tools for said power growth, for the most part, were already there. The moment we knew about the tailed beast, we knew that there was something even higher. The moment we knew about the Kages, we knew there was something higher. The moment we had the ninja scaling system from Genin to Jonin, we knew there was things higher. The series opens up really well with telling you about how it's going to function before it ever begins. And I think that's very difficult to do, especially if you're an author like Kishimoto, who likely didn't have everything planned out. He was probably writing by what he thought would look cool and also would make sense with the narrative. And of course, it worked out very, very well, because the thing is, Naruto has such a broad scale for its ability system that it allows for such great fights and allows for such specified and specialized fighters. The reason Rock Lee versus Gar hits so well is because of things like their two backgrounds and how their powers end up interacting and conflicting with each other. Lee is someone based purely in taijutsu, while Gar is someone based purely in the form of ninjutsu. They're two opposites that coexist in this world because of how broad the power system is. The Kekkei Genkai adding even more flavor to every single clan in Naruto, giving them certain abilities, certain specs, certain things that other clans don't have. It allows for even more specialization. It allows for even more things to work in certain ways that other clans simply can't do. And it allows for more diversity in fights. And by letting your world be so broad, the way Kishimoto did, by having a general structure, which is basically summed up in 2 words, magical ninjas, you can go so far with that, and Kishimoto really did. And the thing that I enjoyed for the most part, up until the end of Naruto, is the fact that, yes, things went nuts. We started off with Sasuke, like, burning away a piece of the ground, and by the end of the series, he has this gigantic purple armor Susanoo that's out here destroying entire mountains, and it's just a crazy power creep. But the thing is, I feel like from point A to point B, if we skip Kaguya, everything works. Everything feels like somehow we got here, and I'm fine with it. And I know a lot of people's main problem with part 2 in general is that it sort of lost the ninja aspect. And I understand that, but you gotta remember the pretext of the series, magical ninjas. So I'm fine with the idea that ninja was just sort of a cool term to put on top of it that added more flavor to certain things. Because really, if we look at a lot of the things that happened, was Gaara really a ninja? Was Shikamaru, I mean, Shikamaru may have been technically a ninja, but was Rock Lee really a ninja? You think Rock Lee run around sneakily and doing things like that? No, and I think that's fine. Ugh, I'm so weird because I'm trying to like encompass all my favorite things. So, big thing about Naruto, world building. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. I think it established a world that had flexible enough rules that as much as I squint and groan and look at the Kaguya mess, I'm okay with it. Would I have been more okay with it? Would I have loved it if it was just Madara? Yes. However, that's neither here nor there. And speaking of Madara, the villains in Naruto, Pain, Orochimaru, Madara, Obito, all these great, Itachi before he was revealed, all these fantastic villains. Literally, I'll admit, when I look at villains, I think they're good or bad, there's like a scale. So like, are you a Dosu? Or are you a Nagato? Like, you gotta be somewhere in between. That's because of how well Naruto established its villains and how well they work. And I'm gonna go into more depth. Speaking of villains, let's talk about how they interact with their heroes and how literally every single villain works well in comparison to at least one of our main characters. Obito, obviously he works as a reflection to Naruto, but he works as a great villain for Kakashi. You look at Madara, he actually acts as a really good counter-argument to everything that Sasuke stands for, the entire pride of his clan and what that can do to a man. Great. When you look at Nagato and Naruto, two Uzumakis with the same master walking down completely different paths because of things that occurred in their life and their own ability to maintain their own sense of hope and happiness. Amazing. Sakura. I'm kidding. It's just that her like one interesting villain dynamic kind of dies very early on in Shippuden, which is Sasori. I think those two have a really good dynamic because both are, in a sense, medical nin, because they both manipulate the body in certain ways using their abilities, but they're also extremely powerful warriors. I think if Sasori had lasted longer, then I feel like we would have had a better dynamic there. Sakura sort of falls short in terms of our main characters that has a diametric opposite villain that works well for them. Unless you want to say that's Kaguya, but I don't think Kaguya and Sakura are like parallel each other enough. But regardless, I think the heroes work very well. I think the villains work very well. I think the world works very well. And I think the power set is one of the... Here's the thing, when you're making powers, you need to be able to look at something from our world and then expand it like crazy, or you just come up with something completely different. The Rinnegan is one of the coolest things to ever cool that I've ever seen, and it hasn't been topped. Like, from the design to the abilities to how it's used to the various functions to how it's obtained, amazing. The Sharingan? Tell me a more iconic? Oh my. Tell me a more iconic pair of eyes anywhere. I need to know. If you see these blood red eyes with the tomo swirling through, you know what that is. Even if you haven't watched a single episode of Naruto in your life, because it's that distinctive. It's that amazing. It's done so much great work. The tailed beast, Kurama especially, that monstrous fox, he's done so much. All the different powers that correlate to each other in some way, that all have these different unique interactions, the way that they can combine and work and grow off each other. It's all great. Naruto is great. And the thing is, I do have problems with Naruto, and we're going to hop into that. The main issues I have with Naruto is I have some issues with how it treats some of its main characters. Like, while I understand Sasuke's motivation at the end of the series, I also squint at it very hard. However, I'm going to go into it. Sasuke's going to get his own video where I talk about him in depth. And let me just say, I'm not entirely satisfied with what Kishimoto did with Sasuke in terms of both his final motivation and how quickly he flipped after he got punched in the face really hard, a lot. But that's one thing. How Kishimoto dealt with Sakura, I think he should have let Sakura have a good diametric opposite villain, because it's not like Nagato lasted forever. However, Nagato lasted long enough to act as a good enough parallel to Naruto, something that we understand and respect. Madara lasted long enough to act as a great parallel to Sasuke, and of course Sasuke originally had Itachi. Obito lasted long enough that Kakashi really had a villain that he could diametrically oppose throughout the entire series. So I think Sakura was sort of cut short on that part. Sakura's cut short in a lot of areas. Going to talk about her. Well, I think she's a bit better than everyone says, though I also am not the biggest fan of her. And honestly, I think, once again, the ending of the show, sort of weird. And I have this problem with a lot of shonen manga, or just stories in general, where the author wants to set up for the future, so they will ruin the current thing. And when I say Kaguya ruined Naruto, I mean it in almost a space was not the answer. The thing is, Kaguya being an alien and Chakra not being native to Earth, it sort of uproots this entire amount of world building we've had for hundreds of chapters at this point, and it throws it all away. Because, oh no, it's not this cool thing that just happened to exist that works in this world. It actually came from this alien lady. And while I like new lore, if you've been around the channel for a while, or if you're new to the channel, you go watch some of my old content, you'll see that I love lore. It's one of the things that blows my mind. I've studied it. I'm the kid that read for hours and hours on the Ben 10 wiki. I can tell you unspeakable things about Ben 10 aliens because I've spent so much time reading up on their lore. However, when I think lore does a disservice to the narrative is when it uproots previous parts of lore, and I think Kaguya did that. I think that's a big issue. I always say, whenever you're trying to end a narrative but leave room for a sequel, what you want to do is not gut the narrative you have right now, like gutting Madara. What you needed to do was let this series end properly and then leave the doors open. My friend said something really, really wise. He said, close the door, but leave it unlocked. So you can always go back in. There's always more of a story to tell, but the story that you closed on, it's a closed door. You can leave it be. And I think Kishimoto messed up with that by trying to ready himself for a new adventure, a new world in Boruto. And I think that is the main mess I have with Naruto. But literally, those three are really it. I think all the side characters. The thing is, let me talk about Naruto's side characters real quick as a positive. I don't want to go on too long in this video because I'm going to be talking about Naruto way more in depth throughout way more different videos. So the thing that I enjoy a lot about the side characters in Naruto is that in comparison to a lot of other side characters in shows, while Naruto doesn't have the perfect use of side characters that I think something like Dr. Stone does, I do think in terms of side characters, Naruto is really, really good, because what it does is usually after it introduces a side character that is going to stick around, it gives them a moment to be memorable for, a moment that you'll constantly stick back to. Rock Lee has done nothing. He threw the kunai at Madara. That's it. That's it though. He's done nothing else, and he kicked Madara in half. That's impressive. That's a good feat, Lee. I see what you did there. But other than that, he hasn't done anything since Gar vs. Rock Lee, which came out over a decade ago at this point. But people still know Lee. People still love Lee because it's that good. Neji has had nothing, literally nothing, but people still love Neji. Where did Kiba even go? No idea, but people still love Kiba. The great thing about Naruto is everyone can have their own favorite character, because Kishimoto was great and he understood it well enough that I need to give all these characters moments that pertain well to the narrative quickly as possible so they have staying power in the reader's mind. I think that's really, really good. However, I'm going to cut myself off. I'm going to just say, you know what, that's enough of it. I'm chatting about Naruto, and this is the gentle transition to let you know I'm going to be talking about Naruto a lot. I love Naruto. I'm going in depth. One of my first videos, if you go back really deep on the channel, is talking about Madara. And obviously, I'm going to redo that video because I think my analysis, while okay in that video, the editing wasn't up to snuff. There's a lot of stuff. I'm going to talk about Naruto a lot, in short. So that's really it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And tell me what you guys think about Naruto in the comments. I really want to see it. I want to see what it's like out there. Are people still loving Naruto? I'm pretty sure they are, but I just want to see. But regardless, let me just hit it for the one more time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing on.